Okay, sorry for the delay here. Let me share my screen here. We're going to take you seeing the screen here? Are you okay? All righty. We're going to take this page, which is just laid out in columns, just elements in a column. This is a column. This is a column, all in columns. And then we're going to, with Flexbox, we're going to turn it into this. And it's scalable. And then when it gets to mobile, and a lot of these parts took, particularly the middle part here, took minimal amount of time to do for mobile. It just automatically worked, which is pretty cool. So, but before we do that, let's go to just quickly review the Flexbox idea. I first mentioned that Flexbox is not ready for prime time. It's still an experimental thing in the latest version of Word Elementor 3.7. And then the ones that come after it, I think there's a 3.7 something, but so Flexbox thinks in two axes, the main axis, which is like a row, and the cross axis, which is like a column. And if you remember, we're used to working with sections, columns, intersections, so on and so forth. Well, now with Flexbox containers, all of those mentioned will be containers. Now, one of the things that people ask, if I update my Elementor to where it's the version that has containers, whenever that becomes part of Elementor, are all my sections and columns and stuff going to go away? The answer is no. You can still have your sections and columns, and you can add containers to that too on the same page. But at some point, you probably want to switch them over. I think in our last Flexbox meetup, when we first were introducing it, we went through and did a conversion. There's a converter to convert whole sections and columns over to containers. It works pretty well, and I haven't tried it in a while, so hopefully it works better. So this is just kind of the main general idea. And each one of these are called flex items. And then we're in a container. So then there's the direction. When there's a row, the direction goes from left to right. The first one on the left, and if it's column, the first one goes on the top. And it proceeds down. Like if I were to take this, let's say that I had 4 pictures and they were in a row, and I changed them to column direction, they'd be aligned like this. And this is just kind of reiterating the direction. Now, not just, the basic left to right, top to bottom, you can reverse row. If you ever had some reason to do that, you can make reverse row and take everything and flip it in order. I'm not sure what use case that would apply to, but it's there.
Hey, Carrie, can you, I noticed that everything is 4 boxes inside a container. Can you make 5 or 6 boxes across?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And when we say boxes, these could be elements or they could be containers.
Elements, I'm talking about.
And if you recall back, the way it still is, you have a section, you have columns, and you can put an intersection in, but you can't put an intersection inside of an intersection. And but you can put as many containers as you want nested inside of each other. You can have a container with a container with a container with a container, but obviously that sort of defeats the purpose of containers because you're just adding more code. But you can do that. It is allowed. So then with rows, we have the alignment, and there's flex start, which I think is kind of self-explanatory, flex center, and flex end. It goes to the beginning, to the center, to the end. Then there's reverse row with flex start, center, flex end. So if you go back here on the top row, the first one was on the far left, now it's on the far right. You can see that.
Mhm.
So it just reverses everything. And then there's alignment, and this, for some, I know I was first introduced to Flexbox 6-7 years ago, but that was back when you had to do it by hand. It wasn't really being adopted by web page builders or anything, and it was kind of hard to wrap your mind around, but this helps you understand a little bit. There's alignment, which is space between. Let's say that you wanted to, it puts one on the far left, one on the far right, and makes the space in between equal. And of course, if you had 4 or 5 boxes, it would be distributed evenly. Then we have space around, which takes this space that you see here and puts that same amount of space over here, and the same amount of space here, same amount of space here. So in the middle, you've got twice this space. So it's thinking about the space around the element. And then there's space evenly, which makes the space around the element left to right the same for all of them. So there's that. And these are the what the tools look like. This is flex direction and flex columns. That's flex start, that's the center. That's to the end. I believe that's the space between, space around, and I have to go, I don't remember what that one is. And then the flex direction columns, top, middle, bottom, spread out, space around, let's see. I would say space evenly. But there are little tool tips that when you are in the interface, you put your cursor over this, it'll pop up and tell you what it is. And then the line items in the cross axis. We talked about the main axis, the row is the main axis, and then the vertical is the cross axis. Although the cross axis, I believe, could mean the other, depending on, flip it depending on what you are building in. So, but I think almost always it's for columns and for rows. So now let us try to get started here. Put this over here, and so I've told you that this is an experimental feature. Don't use it on a live site. Some of the stuff, there's a couple little items that we'll be doing that, and I want to give a nod to Dave Foy, who used to have do a lot of Elementor teaching, and he showed me a trick, and I'll share that with you, that helps you prepare for going to mobile, because you might, and it has to do with margins and padding and stuff, and so you don't have to go back and change every or do a whole lot of changes going from desktop to tablet to mobile. And then some of the material that we'll be talking about is based on a presentation that Milan, and I can't remember his last name, he's the Elementor leader in Serbia. He did a presentation a few months ago, and I like these orange graphics. I just lifted him from his presentations. So I'm giving him credit. And I've seen these before somewhere else too. So he probably lifted them from somewhere. I don't know. But some of his ideas we'll be using in this as well. I think, as I mentioned, one of the mindset shifts that you kind of have to do, and really, if you've been using Elementor for any period of time, you probably have already started to do this, is as you're designing your website. Now, there's different schools of thought. I know there are people who like to do things in Figma or Adobe XD, but I was kind of raised in the school, and it's particularly easier with Elementor. Raised in the school is to design in the browser. So when you're doing a design, you got to be thinking down the road. Okay, how is this going to translate to tablet and mobile? And you really, this, in my experience, most of that learning or knowledge comes from experience of doing something wrong. So the best way to learn something is to do something wrong. So anyway, let's go to our page that has not been styled with Flexbox. Okay, first we're going to look at the header. So I'm going to edit with Elementor. Okay, so we've got what we've got going here is we've got the logo, we've got our menu, and we've got a call to action button. And then let's see here. Okay, so here's the container, the main container. This used to be a section, now it's a container. We look at how it's, and this is the general layout for the container. Then there's the items. If you remember, each little square in the graphical thing was called a flex item. There's a section called items. And right now, this downward pointing area means its arrow is set to be a column. And it's aligned, the items are aligned to be vertically centered. So if we just click row, boom, there we go. Now, one thing I did here, I'm going to undo just for ease of, okay, let's go back. Okay, so we got 3 items here. And what we want to do is I'd like to do is have my logo here and have my menu pushed over to the side. So, a way to do this, which I think I learned from Milan, is that I can click on, because what I want to do is add space in between the logo and the menu. So if I go here, and then I go to advanced, and I go to size, I click on grow, and then it takes up the available space. So it pushes that, and that space is coming from the space here and the space there. So we go grow, boom, taken care of. So then let's go to mobile. Alrighty, so this isn't going to work because my menu is in the middle, and I want it at the, we've got a column here, and it's the middle, and I want it to be the end. So let's look at this section. And I'm going to select the hamburger menu, and I'm going to go to advanced. I'm going to go to order, and you'll see here end. And now it's down here. So it's kind of in a more logical place. So we just go from there and we're all set. So then we save that.
Sorry, a question.
Yes, sir.
When you press the order, did it push it to the bottom of the stack, or did it push it one behind the item that was above him?
Now it pushes it to, let's see here.
Put the order, the very left one.
Yeah, it goes to the end. This is the start. Now, this is the thing that was the bug I found, is you're supposed to be able to click on custom, and then another thing pops down here, and it has, you can put what order you want them in, like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
But that's not working. So, but the end is working, and that serves our purpose today. So
Okay, thank you.
you bet. And then we have a hero image. Let's get to editing the page. Now, and I have done this myself. You know, you don't usually, what we'll do is we'll have a hero image or a hero section, and the title and the supporting text and any call to action will kind of take up a portion of the hero image. And the way that we may have done that in the past was to either have it be 2 columns and have the right column empty, but we got HTML for that column in there that's serving no purpose, or we could put padding or margin on the margin or padding for the left container in the section, or I'm thinking in columns. In the column, you put some padding and push it that way, but this is a better way. So anyway, what we've got here, let me open the navigator here. I'm going to put it down here for now. We've got, see, this is the container that holds all of this. And then this is, let's see what we got down here. Okay. And this container is the container that holds this call to action. And this was an interesting thing that I picked up from Milan, that in the past, I would have used a different tool, but the call to act, you know, you could put a headline, you could put text box, you could put a button. That's 3 items. But with a call to action and styling it, you just use 1 item. Saves code. So what are we going to do with this? So this is the call to action widget inside the container, inside the hero image, hero container. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to go to advanced, and we can set the width. We go to %, and I'm going to put it at 60. And we can see let's see. And let's update that. Let's close this out for a second. Let's preview it, see how we're doing.
I guess I missed it. Why can't you do the same thing with a button?
Say that again.
I said, I guess I missed it. Why can't you do the same thing with a button?
Do the same thing with a button. I'm not sure.
Instead of a call to action.
Well, the call to action is all 3 of these things put together.
All 3 of which things? And that's what I missed.
Okay, this is the title. This
Oh,
is
okay, gotcha.
body text, and this is the button.
Gotcha.
You could have put, you know, a widget for the title or a heading. You could have put widget for a text box, and you could put a widget for a button. But that's 3 widgets. If you use the call to action widget, you just use 1 widget, And you
Right.
can do this with the call to action widget. So let me see here.
I've learned to love the call to action, the icon box, and the box image box. Those three widgets are very good.
Yep, yep. Okay, so let's go back here. You see this here. I'm going to look at the style, image, top center fixed. Okay. Alrighty. So we, and then we're going to take this down to, we'll go to mobile. And see what we got. Okay, not looking too bad. It's fitting. But what I want to do is I want to make all this stuff centered. So I'm going to click on the call to action widget. And because sometimes with these containers, there's a container inside a container and they may be like laying on top of each other. And the navigator really helps to find your way around. So I'm going to, I've got the call to action selected, and then I'm going to go to style, and then I'm going to center align it. And then I think that works better. So get that, update. Then move this over here for a sec. Then we have what I've got in my notes, I call the fish grid. Because what we have going on here is we have a container with 3 containers, and each side and inside of each of these containers are images. So we have one container, and this is another example of trying to think ahead of what you want to ultimately get. Because see, this is another container, but basically what this is a column with a container that's in flex direction for a column with 3 containers stacked on top of each other, and in each container are these images. So let's edit this this container. So we're going to select the main container, and I'm going to layout and items, and I'm going to justify content. Wait, check the direction. I'm going to go to a row. See how much some stuff's already changed? But I'm going to make it a little more interesting. I want to take these 3 and these 3 and kind of have them centered vertically next to the taller one in the center. So I can do that by sure. Go to video. So I'm going to select this column, and I'm going to go to layout, items, justify content, and I'm going to put center. And now this is justify content vertically because we're in a column. So if it was in a row and you justify this center would be left to right. This is top to bottom. So let's see how it centers it. And I'm going to do the same thing for this. Okay. And that's just a little bit more interesting. So then we'll save that.
If you did that on the master container, what would it do to all those inner containers? Anything?
I'm sorry, can you speak up just a little bit?
Yeah, if you did that on the master container, that all these containers are inside, would it matter? Would it do anything, or would it just leave them alone?
If I were to do it in the master container,
Uh-huh.
let's see. Nope, doesn't do anything.
Okay, thank you.
So we're good. We're good with that. Okay, so let's think about mobile now. Oh, look at that. They're already lined up perfectamundo. Well, this takes into account one of the little things that I learned from Dave Foy. Let's see if I can. Here we go. Let's see here. This column.
Hey, Carrie, help me understand one thing.
Sure.
Where is that space on the top of the container coming from? If you have three columns, same height, when you press center on that container, where is that top space and bottom space coming from?
It's
Yeah.
not-
Oh,
it's-
no, I'm sorry. You have 4 on this container, on the middle container. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, it's stretching the height of the main container, and these are centering, the one on the left and one on the right are centered vertically in that container.
Yeah, no, the secret is that you have 4 on the center column.
Right.
4 images, not 3.
Right.
sorry.
Yeah.
Dumb question.
No, there's no dumb questions. Okay, then we have what I call the phone section. And let's see here, we've got what we're going to do here. So what we've got are 3 containers. That's a container, that's a container, and this is a container. So we're going to select the master container, and we're going to go to layout, items, direction, row. Okay. But I want this. I want to go to layout, items, justify content. I want it to be centered too. So I'm going to do this again. Items, justify content, center. Okay. So we got that. And
I have a bit of a question. Sorry, this is Joker Jerseys. I'm new to this this group here.
okay.
How did you animate like that text like flowing in, zooming in from left to right? Like how do you do that?
Well, let's see. Let's go to the front end here.
Mhm.
Let's see here. So
Like yeah, the whole animation that's happening there.
yeah. Okay. Well, there's couple things. If I click on the actual element,
Mhm.
I go to advanced.
Yeah.
And I go to motion effects,
Ah, there it is.
and then I say entrance animation, fade in down.
Nice. Okay.
Now, if you were to do this, you'd see this come like off screen and come in, and it's pretty jarring. And there's a fella called Jim Fahad, I think his name is. He runs a web development agency, and he does some pretty good, more technical type Elementor training. And I got some code from him that I'll be happy to share that will tone down the jarringness of, because you see that when you load these things, they just move a little bit subtly, but it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
So it takes away, it doesn't travel as far as where it is. It's not as distracting. So
Gotcha.
let me see where I have that. Let me save this.
Yeah, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Go to site settings, and this would be where you put it. Site settings, custom CSS, and it's this CSS. Let me I don't know if this is too much to put in chat, but we can give it a shot.
Sure.
Yeah, let's see, get back to Zoom. Chat. Here we go. Oh, what's going on here? For some reason, my chat thing has turned into a pen. Well, that's very bizarre. Okay. That's really strange. Well, I'll give it a shot here in a little bit. It's that's really weird. My cursor has turned into a pen and I can draw pictures on here. So, oh well. What did I do? Oh, they've added some new stuff.
Try escape. Oh,
The whiteboard for Zoom.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Okay, I got out of that, thank God. Okay. Well, it doesn't like it. Maybe because it's code, I don't know.
Actually, Carrie,
Yes.
let me just jump in real quick. I was looking at the code and I read it and I was like, and that I'm actually familiar with that Element How site. It's brilliant for Elementor. Now I'm going to paste in the chat the link to that because I was like, oh, okay, I could probably find that because
Oh, as this is on Element, maybe that's where I got it.
yeah, hold on, I think it's it. I think here, check, I think it's here. Because I've gone to that site for other things. It's brilliant. I just put it in the
me
chat.
too. Yeah. So anyway,
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
yeah. Okay, cool. There you go. The guy who runs Element, I think his name is Maxime, I think's his name. So, okay. So we're good on that. Thank you, Guy. Very helpful.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great site for all kinds of Elementor stuff, actually.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it is.
Thank you.
go check out that thing, but I suggest everyone else take a look around in that site.
Yeah, and he has other things that are interesting, and some are free and some are you have to pay for. But I mean, it's like sometimes $9 or $12. He comes up with code that works well for stuff like that. So
Yeah.
where did we leave off? Mobile phone section. Oh, we're doing the phone this now. Okay, so let's go to mobile. Okay, now this is where I found the bug earlier today. See, I was thinking, well, I needed to take that and put it in position number 1 above that, but that doesn't work. So let's go to okay. And then we advanced order and start. Okay, so now it's at the top and all these little features just slide right under. And so it goes from that to that. As slick as you can be. So so I think that about all covers all I wanted to talk about today, because there's, I think, little bits and pieces that you take all the little bits and pieces that you could take that and build lots of stuff. Y'all have any questions? Brian, did you have anything that anything that I missed?
No, you covered everything that we did last time.
Okay. All right. So let's see here. I'll stop sharing. Anybody have any questions? We've only used up half the time. Anybody got
Yeah, I
any?
have a question. I want to know if you guys are going to come back with a whole debrief after the WordCamp in September. If you're going to clue us in, who you saw, what you did, what sessions you went to. Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
I was thinking, I don't know if I'm gonna take the time to do it, but I was thinking that I might shoot some video and post it. But
That'd be great.
yeah. You see how, you're going to be so exhausted. It's going to be like overload. I guarantee you, it's going to be so much information and interaction.
it's about the same as any other. Well, there's some word camps that are small, like Greenville, and Asheville's pretty small.
Did they limit the attendance? Like how many people are going to this?
Well, it's hard to say, because if you look at the list of attendees, that not everybody that's attending it shows up, because people can opt not to have their name and picture show. But I, being the OCD person that I am, I counted them. And there's about 640 that show. And so I don't know what it's probably somewhere between 800 and 1,000 people were allowed to come.
Yeah.
But I know in the past, because I went to before COVID hit, I went to the last 3 WordCamp US events. And I enjoyed them all. And I particularly liked the last one, because I got a chance to talk to some interesting people. That's where I met. I think that was the first WordCamp I went to where Elementor was there.
Was that in Nashville?
That was in St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I met Ben Pines and Nofar. I don't know if you've known.
I met Nofar in Tel Aviv. I went with her in her car to a meetup. was
Oh,
like-
awesome.
It was Digital Week or something. It was really funny because my sister lives right outside Tel Aviv, and I'm actually
Oh,
going
that's awesome.
in September. And I contacted Elementor. I heard back from Nofar, and she said, yeah, you can come to our office. So I went to their office and I met a few of them, and that week was Digital Week in Tel Aviv, and they had all these developers there. I ended up going with her to some really divey bar, and all these guys were speaking. And one of the guys speaking, I might have told you guys this, he's like the guy who created Toolkit. Is that what it's called? Toolkit or Toolset?
Toolset, I think.
Toolset.
It's like a ACF type thing.
Yeah, it's like a custom field.
Yeah.
I actually worked with a guy recently. It was a little beyond my capability. I worked with a guy who's like an expert, and he did all this like very tricky stuff with posts and maps and images, but there were some really amazing speakers. And I think since then Elementor has moved to a much bigger, fancier office.
Probably.
Yeah, they were in the midst of looking for new space, and there is so much going on there. It's just remarkable. Really nice people.
Oh yeah. Yep. They're really nice people, and I'm not sure what they're up to.
Well, I'm sure you'll see it.
I hope they're not taking a page from Google and Apple, or Google and Google.
Yeah.
Trying to take over the world.
Yeah, I hope not.
But what they've gone with, doing their own cloud hosting and their headless WordPress. Well, we'll see. And I've actually thought, I'd love to go to, my wife and I would love to go to Israel and Jerusalem and see all that stuff and stop.
Well, believe it or not, my degree, my graphic design degree is from the Academy in Jerusalem.
Really?
Yeah, like I
No.
could totally organize.
So I guess you speak Hebrew?
Yes,
Oh, okay, cool.
I had to, but the Bezalel Academy in Jerusalem at the time I went was the only accredited graphic design program in the country there. And we had some amazing teachers. But the language that was a challenge for me. The language was definitely a challenge, but I mean, I'm talking, years ago. It's been a while. It's still an excellent school. But I get back to Israel almost every year, and I'm still very close to a few of my friends who studied design with me, and one of them went on to be like a marketing manager. One of them went on to become a fine artist. Not everybody stayed in design or website stuff. And
Sure.
of course, when I went to school, it was pre-website. So
Well, when I went to school, it was pretty much pre-everything. Just
computer, but I will tell you that if you can ever get on a trip to Israel for the first time, try to go in a little organized group, because it's a small country, but it's overwhelming with so much stuff, with history and religion and food and art. And it's good to be in a group where somebody's guiding you around initially.
Okay, well, we'll see how it goes. Usually when we travel, I we like to travel and not exactly go native, but really get to where the people are.
Yeah.
And like when me and a friend, we went on I guess it would amount to an expedition to Indonesia for 3.5 weeks back in 2005. And we had a couple of guides that were taking us, because we were going different islands. We were trying to trace down the origins of this palm leaf manuscript. And they would always take us to these restaurants, and they'd go back and eat in the kitchen, and we'd eat out in the main lobby. And it was always the same stuff. It was what Indonesians thought Americans wanted to eat, or Westerners.
Yeah.
And it was crap. It's like they tried to do cheese. They don't eat cheese in that part of the world, because most of the world is lactose intolerant anyway.
Right.
So they would try to make cheese, and their cheese didn't melt. So you'd have eggs with cheese in it. You have these little chunks of
Ew.
what looked like sliced American cheese. It's just sticking out.
Well, you have to go to the open air markets.
But so anyway, we told him. He says, "We want to eat where you eat," and he says, "I don't know." And so we started eating where they ate, and luckily enough, we didn't get sick. It's amazing, but because we ate in some interesting places, and he later told me that the reason that they didn't do that was because he was afraid we would get sick eating.
Right.
Their sanitary conditions are not like what ours are. Let's just say that. But anyway, we'd like to go native, so to speak. But I can understand Israel is a very complicated place, and
You will eat very well. That I will tell you.
oh yeah, all these Jewish mothers saying, "Oh, you're too skinny. Here, let me fatten you up."
Everything's so fresh, and the produce and everything. Just
Yeah.
It's wonderful food. So just saying. But I hope you meet up with the Elementor people. And I guess, will Matt Mullenweg be giving a speech? Doesn't he usually give the
He
speech?
usually does at the end of the word camp, he usually gives the state of the word, is what he calls it. Like a state of the union is called state of the word. And I stayed for the one where they were announcing Gutenberg, and that was probably 2018, I think.
I think I was at that one too, but I wonder, now with all the page builders and Gutenberg I just don't understand how this all comes together, kind of.
Well, I'm trying to keep my eye on all of it. because, you never, internet, I mean, I've been doing this a long time and things change. And so I keep an eye on not so much Gutenberg itself, because Gutenberg by itself, for me, is kind of useless for the kinds of stuff that my clients come to me for. But with, generate blocks, with some of the cadence blocks, there's 3 or 4 others that are really fine, and Bricks Builder is pretty interesting.
What do you mean? What do you mean things change? Isn't front page anymore around or what?
I'm sorry?
Front page.
What do you
Well,
mean things change? Is the front page more around?
No, but
well,
for example,
I'm proud to say I never use that.
Carrie, do you still use Classic Editor? Because I don't use the blocks. I mean,
Well, if I'm just doing I started about 2 months ago. If I'm, I only time I would need to use the editor at all is on something like a blog post, because I build templates for everything else. And then if it was a page, most pages are complex enough to where you can't really just use the content area.
right.
But for things like blogs and news posts and that kind of stuff, I am now using the Gutenberg editor, but it's, it's just, putting a title in the text, and you are able to put blocks in for images and it can be responsive. But no, I haven't. I check in with it every now and again and play with it, and I keep an ear to the ground, but I haven't seen anything.
By the way, Carrie, I think you can stop the recording.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And Lorna has a question as well. You might want
I
to take.
couldn't
the
tell
question.
who was asking the question. Oh, she's got the hand raised. Yeah, go ahead, Lorna. We'll get your question. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, you mentioned earlier that this feature containers is not available yet, that we shouldn't be using it. So I
Not
wanted
on
to
the
find
live
out.
site. No, I'll show you what I'm talking
So
about.
when can we start using it? Do you know?
No, ma'am. That is the $64,000 question. I wouldn't be surprised if it won't come out till what's the next one? 8? We're at 3.7 something now, right?
3.7, yeah.
But I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'll share my screen again.
Even though it comes out with 3.8, it might be a good idea to wait until some of the bugs are ironed out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
To use it live, yes, you can play around with it now, and we definitely recommend you play around with it now, but just don't use it on a actual live site.
Yeah, if you go to Elementor settings, and you go to experiments, and you can see Flexbox containers. Actually, it's only an alpha status right now, so it might be a while. But and
But you could probably mess around with it with the, you probably don't want to build it in your live websites, but to be sure, this will be a feature that I don't think they're gonna experiment with this and then let it fall to the wayside. This will definitely be the future. So you can start experimenting and get used to it, because it will be a thing. It's just whether you want to use it in a live site.
As a matter of fact, sections are going to disappear.
Correct.
In the future, sections are going to disappear.
Yeah.
So this is here. Hey, now one thing that I want to comment on, probably someone can correct me. That conversion from sections, that conversion feature to convert from sections to containers, I think it's a waste of time, because it really converts each column into a container. And what is the purpose of it? See?
Well, if you had a,
or it's just my appreciation.
well, if you had a live site, let's hypothetically say there was a live site that you build, and it's an expansive site you built with containers, and you wanted to convert that over to, I'm sorry, you built it with sections. You want to convert it over to containers, you can. Because like you said, you can't design moving forward with sections. You'll have to use containers, but you may have sites, old legacy sites that you want to convert over, so you're doing everything with containers.
Yeah, I want to say, when I was playing around with this too on a site, you know, I already had some sections with columns and stuff in the columns and intersections and stuff like that. And so I wanted to try the new sections. And the cool thing is that it makes, when you say, you click on a section and there's something, I'm not sure if it's a right click or something, and you can say to convert to containers, what it will do is create a copy of that, totally containerized, turning all your columns, intersections, and the section itself into nested columns. And then so that the cool thing about that is you can look at the top part, and because I don't know, for me, when I was doing that, it was kind of like this odd section with some intense layering and stuff like that on the top. And so I had to sort of fix the new container setup so do what the top was doing. But the good news is you can try it. It will, when you do that conversion, it'll actually just create a copy, totally containerized. So you can, so, you know, I was afraid to like, all right, I actually copied the section on, because I didn't realize that was a functionality, but the good news is that it does do that for you. So you can, you know, fix it, or if it needs to be fixed, you know, some of these simpler layouts, you won't need to do that. So,
Right.
Where would it store the copy?
oh no, the copy is right above it. It's just, it'll just
Okay.
creates a new
Right.
containerized, it copies the whole section and turns everything that can be turned into containers and containers and so on. And then leaves the original above, so you can like A/B it to see, all right, this thing, you know, the top one, it looks like this. I got to figure out fix the bottom one. And then when you're done, it's all in containers, it's done, and there you go. So, but yeah.
That sounds reasonable.
And I haven't heard, of course, it's too early because it hasn't even been released officially. I haven't heard anything, and that'd be a question I'll ask them in WordCamp if they haven't already talked about it, is what's their plan long-term? You know, are sections gonna allow it to be around for a year, or 2 years, forever? They can't do it forever. I mean, they've got to eventually sort of deprecate that feature, but it might be a while, but
So what happens to all the sites we've already created using sections?
they're fine. And I think you may not have been on the call at that point. I mentioned earlier on that, like, obviously, well, I think it's pretty obviously, most any site that any of us have built up to this point are done with sections, columns, and intersections. And once they release containers as it's part of the Elementor core, then it won't be sections. It won't be you won't be able to add a section or a column or an intersection. You can still work on existing sections, columns, and intersections. They'll still be there. They won't go away. But anything you add new will be a container. So instead of it being a section with 3 columns, it would be a container with 3 containers. Everything's a container. So.
Sounds interesting to think that we're going to have sites that are a mixture of the two, and whether that'll create any issues in the future.
Well, I mean, I think, I guess for your, people who have like one website and they're doing it for their small business, they probably won't matter or care. But, you know, people who do this for a living probably will as they are able to, will convert everything over to containers, because it'll just make the sites that a little bit faster, not a lot. But it's another one of those things that Elementor's doing to try to make Elementor websites faster. Because if that's about the only thing right now that anybody has on Elementor in terms of competition, is they can get better speed scores than Elementor.
Mm.
Challenge is, at least for me and the work I do, a lot of my clients ask for things that you can't do with Gutenberg blocks. You know, certain, you know, fancy stuff. I mean, and if I were to code it from scratch, which I have done in the past, but it's very time consuming, it would cost too much and take too long. And so it's you know, there's trade-offs and everything, you know, in life, I guess, that, you know, I can give you a faster website, but I can't give you everything you want. Or you can get everything you want, it won't be quite as fast. Although, it really does, you know, there's things you can do. Your host has a lot to do with it. You know, I use WP Engine, and then on their advanced, they came out with something called the Advanced Network, and they use Cloudflare CDN, and Cloudflare, they got some kind of special network with Cloudflare. And the most recent sites that I built with Elementor on WP Engine, and they're using that advanced network, they are zippy fast.
CDNs make a big difference.
Yeah, well, the WP Engines had CDNs for a long time, but they weren't as fast as this Cloudflare setup they've got now. There's other things going on, but and if you're running a big website and you have traffic or clients all over the place, the CDN is the way to go, because, you know, they have the data distributed across computers around the world, and they serve your data from the closest server to the user. So I don't know. So the containers is a little small way to help make pages less loaded. But if it's a page builder, it's always going to be more bloated than just writing a regular page. And I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because it's part of core, why Gutenberg doesn't bloat a page, but evidently it doesn't. So.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, anybody have any more questions, or have you learned anything that you might want to share?
Oh, I did learn today, but you already shared it.
You learned a lot
What's
from
that?
you.
I learned something today, but you already shared that, so
Oh, okay.
I always learn from you.
Oh, well, I
I'm gonna
learned
run it.
you too.
I'm gonna run as well, you guys. Thanks everyone for coming out. See you
Okay.
guys. All right.
Anybody else have anything? I guess we'll call this a night.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. I'll see you
Thank
later.
you all for coming. We really appreciate it. I'll post the recording. Well, I will convert it and upload it, and I should send out an email maybe tomorrow, probably the weekend, with a link to the recording, so you can, if you want to go back and reference all those different little things we talked about, it's easy to do. So, all righty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Take care.
Thanks as
Bye-bye.
always,
Bye.
Carrie.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Carrie.
Thanks, Kerry.
Thank you, Luna. Where are you, in Australia?
Yeah,
Where in Australia?
in Perth.
You've been on before.
Yes.
Okay. I hate to, I'm sort of ashamed to say I don't remember the name, but I remember Perth. And you might have not shown your face. You might have just been talking with your camera off. But
No, I've been to a few that you've run. So I get all the emails from Elementor and just attend the ones that, you know, I think are going to be helpful. So and this was a really important one when you started talking about, you know, ability to create something on mobile that runs really well.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've noticed I've had a bit of a break from making sites, but I'm getting back into it now. So